Hi and welcome to UC Today. I'm Susie Harrison, Head of Content. In this episode, we're going to be diving into one of the most transformative shifts in enterprise tech, the rise of multimodal AI. I'm joined by David Casem, who is CEO at Telnyx, to discuss how artificial intelligence is redefining the way businesses communicate. So what does the future of business conversation look like when AI can see, hear, understand and respond across every channel? Stay tuned as we explore what it means to go truly multimodal. So thank you, David, for joining us.
Thanks, Susie, for having me. Appreciate it.
So let's start with the big picture. What's changing the way that businesses communicate with customers?
Everything is changing, and it's changing pretty quickly. We've gone from AI being a fancy IVR to now being able to perform relatively simple functions well. I think a year from now, we're going to see AI that's effectively superhuman, capable of doing everything a person can do and more, and probably better than they could otherwise do it. Meanwhile, costs are dropping precipitously. So when we were first seeing voice AI, things were in the neighborhood of like 30 to 40 US cents per minute. I think we'll be under 10 cents in the next couple of quarters. And now we're starting to introduce larger context windows for LLMs. That plus the ability for LLMs to do structured decoding and interact with JSON and APIs effectively means we're going to see just, I think, pretty incredible things. Layer in memory along with realistic voices, better turn detection. Everything's going to change, and I think we're going to see some pretty extreme disruption in the space.
So why is multimodal AI becoming essential rather than optional?
Well, I think, to your point, we're getting to the place where AI can sort of not only interact via chatbot on a web page, but also start to communicate over voice and see things. Right. I mean, you're seeing sort of the integration of these vision models. And so being multimodal, I think, is going to be critical to avoid disjointed conversations. With AI capable of operating across several layers, you have the ability to truly be in tune with what customers need and then serve them, of course, both synchronously and asynchronously in terms of their requests.
And what kind of real-world problems is multimodal AI addressing?
I mean, I think everything and anything. I think there's certainly ones that we've identified today. So pretty much the entire travel category. So from booking flights to arranging itineraries. Obviously, you've seen sort of folks go into GPT and say, "Hey, I'm going to Italy for a week. Tell me what to do." Well, now layer in the AI's ability to go and identify, which resorts have availability, the different activities that you want to do, who's going to be free on Wednesday, right, to be able to do that particular activity, or if no one is available on Wednesday to go scuba diving, then you're moving your itinerary around so that you can go scuba diving on Monday or Tuesday and still get everything in. Logistics, there's still a lot of folks picking up the phone as it relates to handling loads. I need to get a container from this place to that place. People are still very much involved there, and there's a lot of back and forth involved in those sort of requests. So we sort of expect that to be tackled by someone that has familiarity with the space. Healthcare, lots of stuff happening in healthcare, both from just remote patient monitoring, also appointment scheduling, prescription refills, all that stuff can be done. I mean, checking insurance coverage and things like that, all that can be done by AI. So, I mean, anything that requires a phone call, which I would go as far as to say is the universal API, or has any sort of dependencies that require you to sort of go back and check in with someone, you're going to want to be able to not only do something over the phone, but also over text message. I'm sure will soon be RCS, email, and the like.
Yeah. And real-time voice AI sounds really impressive, but what makes it technically difficult to get right?
I think that the biggest thing is latency. So, the human ear can sort of detect the conversation in like 200 milliseconds, right? Like get an idea of what you're saying before you finish your thought, which is sort of not a natural way for computers to communicate, right? You're sort of waiting for the person to finish their sentence before you sort of analyze what it is that they're going to say. So starting to get ahead of that problem set and solving for it in terms of streaming and analyzing what you're going to say before that person has finished saying it, I think is particularly important. You've seen a bunch of interesting things pop up, these speech-to-speech models that have claimed to solve some of this. The issue is that they're not very smart, right? In that they're not very capable. They probably could give you the capital of every country in the world, but they're not going to be able to help you figure out how to rebook a flight that you missed.
Right.
And so, I think while there's going to be incremental improvements in ASR and context as it relates to LLMs and their ability to respond to things, certainly natural voice generation, which is getting to the point where it's obviously almost scary. You still can't beat the laws of physics, and so there's an infrastructure component there that I think is critical to deliver the absolute best customer experience.
And just picking up on that point about what makes a really desirable voice AI experience, obviously we've got to the stage where bots aren't always clearly bots. So what do you see as the features of a great voice AI agent?
I think, obviously people over-index over how good an AI agent sounds. It's kind of funny. Like it's really the first thing that people, whenever you're doing a demo, what the wow factor is, like, wow, that sounds really natural, and so forth. But I think what's more important ultimately to customers, right? I think the way that you have to think about it is like today you call into Ryanair, you have an issue with your booking, and you're calling into a premium line, waiting 20 minutes to speak to an agent or whatever it may be, right? And so if you are able to confidently be connected to an AI agent that didn't sound great, but was it actually able to solve your problem, I think most people would choose that experience. So, I would challenge people on the notion that AI has to sound human in order for folks to interact with it. I think people are more interested in actually being able to get things done. And so what you need there is fast, accurate ASR. You need some ability of comprehension, right? You need the model to be able to know what's going on and know how to tackle that problem. And then integration. So actually being able to interface with the systems in a meaningful way. You've sort of seen the likes of Operator and ability to sort of go into a browser and do things. And I think that's interesting, but I think we should sort of expect that there's going to be machine-to-machine interfaces that these AI agents can use to actually be able to get things done.
And you've mentioned integration there. Why do you think it's often the missing piece in AI deployments?
Well, I think, again, without integration, it's just a fancy IVR, right? You still need someone to be able to actually log into the system and take action. And so, integration is important. I mean, integration, I don't think is enough, right? I think it's a combination of integration and context. Like, I think, one of the big things that is going to develop here in the coming months, and we sort of have released the product around this, which is this notion of AI memory, right? Knowing sort of, what the customer's preferences are, what they did in their last, 10 interactions or 20 interactions, to being able to get to a solution, better, faster, sooner than would otherwise be possible. I think that's going to be particularly important. Like back to that superhuman sort of concept, right? You get to the point now, you sort of imagine a traditional customer center experience. A call goes in, your information sort of gets populated from the CRM. And obviously, if somebody wanted to, they could click through every single one of the conversations that you've had with previous agents, but they're not going to do that because there's just not enough time in the day to be able to do that. And obviously being able to read all of that before trying to solve your problem is probably not the best use of their time. But an AI agent will be able to do that almost instantly, right? I mean, these new models support 1 million, 10 million tokens that you can sort of load in there. So you can literally take a summary of every previous conversation, and the AI agent will be able to sort of know you better and hopefully be able to solve your problem in a way that, I mean, to the point where the AI agent might know you better than you know yourself. So it's the context plus the ability to like make things work with your systems. And look, I think there's been a lot of work done from an integration standpoint, and AI is going to be able to plug into there's this notion of APIs, which I think has become increasingly prevalent across all business systems, CRMs, ERPs, and so forth. So I think we're probably off to the races there already.
Right. And so what role do CPaaS providers play in all of this, and how are different players approaching it?
I think, what we're seeing is, there's folks that are just sort of doing what they were doing before, right? I mean, many of our competitors are just providing, the ability to programmatically control a call, and sort of making incremental features possible. So, the notion of, like, for example, streaming the text, so you don't have to do the ASR on your side. We can just stream the text to you, and your LLM can, in turn take that and provide a response, and then you can tell us what to say back to the user. At Telnyx, I think, we're really focused on becoming the AI orchestration layer, so to speak, and really getting to this sort of goes back to the infrastructure. We've always been an infrastructure company, and so we've really wanted to be able to give users the ability to do as much of what they need to do as it relates to agentic AI as close to the call as possible, right? This sort of comes back right to that physics issue. We want to minimize the latency between the various components. Like, a lot of what people have done today is just piece together a variety of solutions to build their AI experiences. And so, every disparate tool that you use introduces yet another request to a server somewhere, and those requests add up. Oftentimes we talk about it in terms of latency budgets, right? And so, what we're really doing from a CPaaS perspective is putting all those components right next to one another, oftentimes in the same rack, and then giving customers the ability to leverage the latest and greatest models and technologies right next to the public telephone network. And I think we're among the only one, I'll say, of the CPaaS players today that, for example, enable HD voice, and so that too has the ability to sort of supercharge AI implementations, for a couple of reasons. One, just the higher fidelity makes it easier for the AI to understand what is being said. Two, you can actually get a much better feel for sentiment, obviously, in a high fidelity conversation versus something that's happening in 8-bit. And then lastly, the AI sounds better when it's speaking back to that person. So I think that's what's sort of happening in the CPaaS space and what we're doing in particular.
And you mentioned previously some use cases where you're really seeing these benefits play out. Do you want to speak a little bit more about the verticals that you guys are seeing, real improvements and benefits from your side?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've been very impressed with the healthcare space. I mean, there's a lot of things that are done the old-fashioned way. And while I think there is some reticence on the part of practitioners, doctors obviously don't want AI to certainly take their jobs. They sure are excited about what it can do in terms of improving sort of all the operational logistical elements around their practice. So again, appointment scheduling, check-ins, follow-ups, again, interfacing with insurance companies, which, is a huge pain for folks. There's a lot of doctors that are cash pay only because they don't want to deal with insurance. Well, now you can take insurance again. The AI will handle the insurance companies. The logistics space, another place where we see a tremendous amount of opportunity. A lot of things that are manual there still happen over email, still happen over phone calls. All things customer support, obviously. That's a big deal. The travel space, I sort of mentioned that as well. Really, we're sort of seeing new things emerge all the time. So it's hard to say, which verticals. I think, everyone stands to benefit from it when all is said and done. And we're excited to see the problems that our customers are tackling in the space across, every field.
And it'd also be interesting to discuss how you think customers are dealing with this, because obviously AI is evolving at a rapid pace, but also there needs to be a cultural shift of people's willingness to use it. And I think initially people were a bit reticent maybe about having conversations with bots and virtual agents. Where do you think we are at the moment with customers being sort of receptive to the use of AI?
I definitely think we're still very much in the early adopter phase, no question. That being said, I recently called into a restaurant to make a reservation, and I wanted to change my reservation, and I did it all with an AI bot. So I really do think what it comes down to, and things really demo well, right? You can sort of show the sophistication and what your AI bot is capable of doing, but what it really comes down to is outcomes. So if you can show customers outcomes, right, with respect to interacting with AI, right, and give them the ability to start to do some sort of what we call like a canary deployment, like get something in play so they can start to see how customers interact with it. We see a lot of success around that, and it's really an iterative process, right? So like, hey, let's just do your appointment scheduling. Let's see if the stuff that you were doing before with a human being that costs you $20 to $30 an hour. Let's see if we can do it for a fraction of the cost and do it better and scale up, right? Where you don't need to do staff augmentation during busy seasons and the like. So, I think we're definitely still very much in the early days here, but things are moving, to your point, very quickly. And I think this is going to sort of be one of those technologies where you either adopt it or you don't make it. I definitely would encourage folks to, and I think, look, I don't remember how many users ChatGPT has, but I would say it's a pretty big portion of the world population, at least in industrialized countries. So I definitely think that whatever reticence was there is definitely slowly melting away, and we're very much on track to full blown adoption here over the course of the next few years.
Right, but on the flip side, we still do have some limitations and some concerns about the use of AI. What are the most common failures that you think that we're still seeing in voice AI today?
I think the biggest one that we're sort of seeing is the voice AI that can't get the job done for whatever reason, right? Like I think you have to put some guardrails around what you want the AI to do and how you want the AI to do it, right? I think the sort of more specificity that you bring, the more likely you are to have a successful outcome. I think, other things that we see is like oftentimes you don't have the ability to move to a human agent, or even if you do have the ability to move to a human agent, you're sort of put in a position where you're back to square one, in that there's no context. So, being able to pass context, I think, is pretty important. lots of fragmented systems. So, I think people are sort of throwing things in there. And we hear of people that are like, hey, I'll, take these calls and I'll forward them over to this phone number where there's an AI bot and, whatever. There's, you don't get the intended outcome. You don't get the disposition of the call that you want. And then you route it back. And so you end up, again, with sort of disjointed experiences, which obviously customers don't like. So, I think it's super important to, obviously start small and iterate, but also have a bigger plan in mind and ensure that you're picking a partner that can help you with orchestration and platform level design across multiple modalities.
Which I guess segues nicely into how Telnyx's infrastructure approach makes it easier for developers to build real-time AI agents. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, the key is that we try to put all the pieces there for you. We don't prescribe any single way that you have to interface with our systems, but we're giving you, pretty much everything that you need in order to build an AI agent right then and there. Including obviously the phone number if you want someone to be able to call you, or the WebRTC SDKs if you want that experience to happen over your website. You're able to do that without having to have any sort of deep telco or voice experience. And we're constantly evolving, right? I mean, you sort of go look at our release notes. The product is getting new features every week. We're moving pretty quickly in the space. So all the tooling that you could need, we're big enough where we can obviously support at scale solutions, but small enough where we're still there for the customer and can really hold their hand and ensure that they're successful.
Do you have a misconception that you hear regularly, perhaps from your customers or more generally, about voice AI that you'd like to clear up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple of things. So one, I think, sort of this over-indexing, right? The myth that, you need, in order for someone to have a successful interaction, the AI bot has to sound human. And I think that's not where the real magic is. The real magic is not in sounding human, but, acting human. So being able to take action, escalate, adapt. I think, the other thing is, that there's this sort of fear that ultimately these, AI is going to replace us all. I mean, I don't think that that's true. There's always going to be need for people, for the human touch. And so I think it's just going to be a matter of avoiding having to, or people sort of avoiding doing mundane things that they otherwise wouldn't want to be able to do. And then ultimately getting us a point where those interactions, whether it be machine to machine, machine to human, are pretty seamless across the board, and we're able to deliver on solutions that ultimately benefit end users.
And if a company was wanting to get started on their voice and SMS AI journey, what do you think they should focus on first?
I think, finding the right partner, come to us. But all kidding aside, I think the really it's about narrowing, finding a particular use case that you think where you think the AI can sort of do the job, and then building around that. And so it's super important, I think, to really approach AI not necessarily from a, hey, what are the things that this solution can solve out of the box, which I think is a common approach, but instead, why is a solution going to allow me to integrate with the existing systems I have in a meaningful way, such that I'm really going to get what I need out of it long term. So I think that's important. So just ensuring that however it is that you're tackling that, you're doing it with the end in mind, and you're putting yourself on a path to be able to sort of accomplish long-term goals with a platform. I think that there's a lot of dabbling that happens, and I think folks that sort of going down that path are destined to have to do things on repeat unnecessarily.
Right. And I suppose picking up just finally on that looking forward piece, where do you think we're going next 2 to 3 years with AI and voice AI?
I mean, it's hard to tell. I think, we're going to be at like full blown Turing test time here pretty soon. Like, not to the point where you may not know that you're interacting with a machine. It'll be so good. So I think that's certainly a possibility in the next couple of years. And I think, it's going to go from, it's like the IVR, right? I mean, back in the day, you'd call a number and a human being would pick up, and then one day that stopped, and you got an IVR everywhere you went. So I think it's not outside the realm of possibility that it's going to be very widespread in the next couple of years. And look, anything's possible. It's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, definitely. And we just all hope that we won't be replaced. Well, thank you so much, David, for joining me today. It's been really great speaking about this. And of course, we'll continue to discuss issues like these on uctoday.com. So thank you, David, for your time.
Thanks. Really appreciate it. Take care.